When you're over 50, a lot of things feel familiar enough to stop questioning, even when it costs you something. That's when life puts the steering wheel back in your hands. And for the first time in years, no one else is reaching for it. For a single older man, every habit hits closer, faster. Small routines stop feeling small when you're the only one living with them. Even your reasons start sounding thin when you hear them out loud. What stayed wasn't praise, it was the relief of not explaining yourself. One day you reach for something out of habit and realize it hasn't been there for a while. This stage of life isn't loud, it's deliberate. That's why what gets ignored now tends to stay longer than what gets chased. Who's around you these days? Most men don't notice this at first. The people closest to you aren't just faces in a crowd, they are mirrors. When you live alone, conversations follow you home. Edward was at a company dinner. He didn't like the food, the talk, or the people, yet he laughed and nodded along. When he stood up to leave, someone joked, "Heading home already? What's the rush? No one's waiting anyway." He smiled and sat back down. Later, walking out alone, his shoulders dropped. He felt more tired from pretending than from the dinner itself. The food wasn't even good enough to justify it. Nothing was wrong with him. The situation asked for a version of him that cost too much. Think about this for a moment. There are people who slowly pull you away from yourself, even without a word spoken. If that line felt familiar, a quiet like is enough. You don't need to explain it. It's strange to reach the middle of life and still feel the need to perform. You're not in school anymore, blending in to avoid the biggest kid in the class. Think of Anthony Hopkins today. He spends much of his time alone, not withdrawing from life, but no longer paying the cost of performing for rooms he has outgrown. Just choices. Most men don't change their circle dramatically. They just stop pretending. Pretending is expensive. It always sends the bill later. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about leaving space for the few who let you be yourself. And the next trap is worse because it looks productive. These days, the people around you affect your mood more than your plans do. The wrong circle is like wearing shoes that don't fit. You only notice the blisters once you stop running for the crowd and start walking your own path. And many men notice this late, not because they missed the signs, but because loyalty delayed the exit. Others leave things settled inside. Over time, that difference becomes hard to miss. Not during the conversation. After. At this stage of life, even small choices shape how your days feel. Knowing when to leave. Most men don't realize it at first. What drains them isn't effort. It's staying where they no longer belong. For single men, this is one of those things you live with for years, without ever noticing it's costing you. Sometimes what you stay in isn't a place at all, but a relationship that ended long ago and never really left you. My mentor, Kai, once told me about a man in his village who spent every night in the same tavern, sitting in the same corner. He didn't talk much, he just stayed until it was late. When Kai asked why, the man said, "It's easier to be here than to go home." Kai understood. The place wasn't the point. Someone was missing there. Then Kai looked at me and said, "You think walking away will make you smaller, but walking away is the only way you'll grow taller. Some doors don't close loudly. They just stop leading anywhere. Like a road you still walk every day, even though it stopped taking you anywhere New Year's ago." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Most men don't argue with this. They just avoid acting on it. Have you ever kept small things from someone who's no longer in your life? A photo, a note, something they once touched. They sit there doing nothing, yet somehow taking up more space than they should. One day you move them out of sight, and the room feels lighter, even if your heart isn't. I didn't throw it away. I just put it somewhere I don't see every day. That's not loss, that's clearance. Not because you're ready, just because you needed to breathe. Most single men don't keep it because they love it. They keep it because throwing it out feels like admitting something changed. What are you still holding on to out of habit, not because it still fits? Seneca reminded us, every new beginning comes from the end of some other beginning. Endings aren't failures. They rarely announce themselves. Most men don't stay too long on purpose. They just don't notice when it's time to leave. Because nothing breaks, it just stops feeling right. Time is the one thing you don't get back. Time is the only thing that charges you whether you use it well or not. And after 50, it stops giving refunds. You can rebuild money, you can't rebuild a wasted day. If you are single, time hits differently. No one else is leading the clock for you. If you ignore it, there's no one to split the bill with. I once saw a man in his 50s argue for hours with his neighbor about a parking spot. Red face, raised voice, a whole afternoon consumed by proving he was right. The next morning, he looked exhausted, as if the fight had stolen a piece of his life. There's just silence at home and the realization of what the day cost you. The Stoics measured wealth in moments, not coins. Epictetus once said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" It turns weeks into habits before you even realize the deal was signed. It's like leaving your engine running all day while the car never moves. The fuel is gone, the distance stays the same. Busy is often how moving nowhere looks respectable. So is there anything you've been calling reasonable that time has been quietly charging you for? The calendar looks full, yet nothing you care about actually moved. How many of us have said, "I'll start next Monday," whether it's the gym, the diet, the book, or even the hard conversation. Mondays multiply, but action doesn't. Living alone makes it worse. No one calls you out. No one stops you unless you decide to. From the first promise to the moment he looked up, 10 years were gone, and nothing had moved. This channel is for men who notice moments like that. If you're one of them, you already belong here. I stopped relying on motivation the day I put 2 names on my calendar. 2 mornings a week. If I didn't show up, I was leaving someone waiting. Now stopping felt harder than continuing. It doesn't feel like failure when it's happening. It just feels like another normal year. And that's what makes it hard to notice. Time doesn't announce what it takes. It steals in silence, while your life looks perfectly reasonable until breakpoint. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." You don't debate as much. You look at the calendar, you look at your energy. And some options remove themselves. Time after 50 is like daylight in winter. Shorter, but clearer. You sit down at night, then you stand back up. You shut the day down on your terms, yet somehow it feels unfinished. And ahead is one small shift that makes the next 10 years feel lighter. The things that add up every day, you are building your future. Not with grand decisions, but with tiny habits. The food you reach for, the way you start your morning, the thoughts you feed when no one is watching. For single older men, habits stop feeling optional. When you live alone, nothing gets covered up. Whatever you repeat shows up fast. Sleeping a little later, moving a little less. Letting small standards slide because it feels harmless. I've called that taking it easy. It took me years to realize I was just tired. There's no warning email, no reminder. One day my belt doesn't fit the same. I blame the clothes instead of the habit. I even told myself the dryer must have shrunk them. It felt better than changing anything. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." I didn't understand that line when I was younger. I only felt it after repeating the same days too many times. One small comfort doesn't change much. One night in doesn't either. Then one morning, your reflection looks familiar, and you realize you're the one who decides if it stays that way. Bad habits are like pets you barely notice, chewing on your life day by day, until one day you look down and realize the sole of your shoe is gone. I used to wait until the sink was full, 3 meals, 1 heavy job at night. Now I stand up after each meal and wash 1 plate, Nothing piles up, neither does resistance. Robert De Niro, one of the most disciplined actors of his generation, once admitted something that surprised people later in life. Nothing special, just fewer rehearsals, later mornings. And one day, the discipline that built his career wasn't there when he needed it. Habits show up everywhere, in how you speak, how you react, and what you tolerate from yourself. If you kept most of your habits the same for the next 5 years, how do you think life would feel? Most men know the answer. They just avoid sitting with it. Some nights distraction feels easier. And that's exactly how you know honesty is waiting. That's the moment habits stop being accidental. From here on, every small choice is a vote for the man you're becoming. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. For a single man, no one else lives their results for you." That can feel lonely, or it can feel like the first moment no one else is deciding the pace for you. If there's one thing many men don't notice at first, it's this. Freedom rarely disappears overnight. It gets negotiated away. That's where you start deciding again. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, the next chapter shows where most men get stuck. What the body holds after 50. After 50, your body reacts faster than it used to. Late nights linger. Shortcuts show up sooner. For single men, there's no one else to share the wear and tear. I remember Daniel, in his 30 and 40, he worked like a machine, ate whatever was convenient, and laughed at warnings. By 50, his body simply stopped keeping up. Not all at once, just enough to notice. Your body is not trying to scare you, it's just asking for fewer shortcuts now. Caring for your body isn't about vanity, it's about freedom. When your neck tightens, don't push through it. Roll it slowly a few times, then give your neck and shoulders a brief massage. That tightness isn't pain, it's time sitting there. When you live alone, pain doesn't get discussed, it just stays with you. You don't have to explain it to anyone, but you're the only one who has to carry its bags. Maintaining your body now is like keeping up a good house. The bones are solid, you just don't let the roof leak. It's not about looking young, it's about staying dangerous. Most men notice it in the morning, usually before the coffee has a chance to help. I check my body before I check my phone. 2 minutes is enough to know how the day will go, and that's the honest part. Your day starts negotiating before you even speak. It's not memory in the usual sense. It's the way stiffness shows up sooner than it used to. The way energy runs out earlier in the day. The day feels shorter because your fuel tank is smaller. You don't have to prove you're a machine anymore. You just have to prove you're smart enough to manage the engine. I stopped trying to fix everything. I just made sure my body felt okay before the day started. A few minutes was enough to tell if today would go smoothly or not. That's not maintenance. That's command. What matters now feels clearer than it used to, and you don't need to rush to prove anything. After 50, the body isn't asking for discipline, it's asking to be listened to. And even with all this awareness, one thing still trips men up. Not the body, the moment emotion takes over. When one moment goes too far, a sentence said a little too sharply, a look held a second too long, a reaction that felt justified at the time. Mark learned it the hard way. At a small gathering, he made a cutting remark. Not loud, just enough to shift the mood. No one said anything. After that, invitations slowed. Conversations stayed polite, then shorter. He never traced it back to that night. He just felt himself drift to the edge. You replay it later, not because someone called you out, but because something about it didn't sit right. Now, when I feel that rise, I pause my hands. I don't speak until they're still again. That isn't losing. It's me protecting the peace of my house for later. Peace is expensive. That's why I don't hand it out in public. For single men, there's a no buffer after moments like that. No one else to soften it. No one to talk it out with before it settles in. There's no one to say you were right, but maybe let it go. It just stays with you. Life keeps moving. The day continues, but respect shifts, trust thins. Not because you're a bad man, but because one moment spoke louder than years of consistency. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your presence alone now carries the weight that your words used to chase. It's not the emotion that causes the loss. It's the moment you stop holding the wheel. This isn't about anger being wrong. Anger happens. What's easy to miss is the cost of letting it decide for you, even once. It's the kind of thing you usually notice later. They remember the reaction, but not what changed after. It's not the emotion that causes the loss. It's the moment you stop holding the wheel. Living alone means there's no one else to carry it with you. That's why it stays. The men who last the longest usually aren't the loudest. They're the ones who don't react right away. The elegance of no. One afternoon you wake up and realize no one needs anything from you. No messages waiting, no favors owed. Just a quiet stretch of hours that actually belong to you. You're lighter. Warren Buffett once said that later in life the real luxury wasn't money, it was having control over his calendar. Fewer commitments, fewer interruptions, more days that didn't ask him to hurry or explain. Try to notice this feeling just once. The moment you gently say no to a request that drains you. No long explanations, no apologies. It's not selfishness. It's the exact moment you realize you are no longer a free resource for the world to exploit. You're a man, not a 24-hour convenience store that forgot to lock the door. For many men, a few names surface naturally here. Saying no isn't about becoming colder. It's about staying available for the right people. These days, I rarely answer right away. I tell people I'll get back to them. I place my phone face down, just for the afternoon. By the next day, my real answer is usually clear. There is a strange, beautiful relief when the phone stops ringing with demands. It leaves you with an afternoon that actually belongs to you. At this point in life, an uninterrupted afternoon is no longer empty time. It's where his pace finally comes back. It's when your self-respect returns, sits down beside you, and stays. Not louder, just undeniable. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Some people drift, a few stay. And you finally notice the difference. The house changes when you stop being convenient, and for the first time, the air finally feels clean. It's like turning off a buzzing refrigerator you've lived with for years. You didn't realize how loud it was until it finally stopped. But the next level is harder, saying nothing when you could explain everything. The power of not needing to be understood. The greatest gift you can give yourself at this stage is this: stop explaining. When someone misjudges you or a conversation turns loud and heated, the biggest trap is trying to be understood. We speak more, explain further, and end up feeling exhausted. Every time you over-explain yourself, you're essentially begging for permission to exist. It's a young man's game, and you're past the age of chasing approval. But there is a masculine power we often forget: restraint. For a single man living alone, it isn't absence. It's the first space where he doesn't have to explain himself to anyone. The truth is, most people aren't listening anyway. They're just waiting for their turn to be louder than you. Trying to win an argument online or at a dinner table is like trying to teach a cat to bark. It's a waste of breath, and the cat just thinks you're the crazy one. When you simply smile and to take a sip of your tea instead of reacting to a sarcastic comment, you haven't lost. I let the silence finish the moment. Then I change the subject. Most of the time, people move on faster than you expect when you don't give them a reaction. A man over 50 doesn't pull back because he's unsure. He pulls back because he's clear. He's gone far enough to know this isn't worth a single breath. Respect doesn't come from loud declarations. It comes from the way you are no longer bothered by the need to win. Stepping back is the one move that ends the game without burning energy. Use it as your shield, not your hiding place. It's not that you have nothing to say, it's that they can't afford the price of your words anymore. Don't chase women to fill a void. At some point, a man catches himself doing the same thing again. Whenever things feel empty, his hand reaches for attention. He doesn't want love, he wants the itch to shut up. If it were desire, it wouldn't leave him emptier. Paul saw this one night while scrolling through old messages. Different names, same ending. He laughed and said, "I've been using women like background noise." And like any noise, it worked. Until it didn't. Chasing feels like movement, but most of the time it's just pacing. Like running hard on a treadmill and still ending the day in the same place. For years, attention felt like progress. One reply was enough to delay the night. He wasn't chasing women. He was avoiding unfinished parts of his life. One night he didn't reach out, not to be disciplined, just to see what would happen. Nothing collapsed. Chasing women is often easier than facing a life without shape. It's not romance that keeps pulling you back. It's the relief of not having to decide what to do next. Paul used to joke that dating apps were cheaper than therapy. Then he checked his bank statements and stopped joking. The real cost wasn't money, it was direction. When a man stops chasing to fill something, attraction doesn't disappear. It stops hijacking his decisions. Most men don't fear being alone. They fear realizing no one is scheduled to rescue them. No one arrives to fix it. That's the point. That's where his life finally starts taking shape. Money isn't about status anymore. At some point, money stops being a dream and starts being a signal. When you're older and single, people don't ask how you're doing, they watch how you move. Charles noticed it when his younger brother called. The conversation sounded casual. Then the request slipped in, already half decided. Charles sent the money. Years passed and the topic of repayment never came back. "I think the transfer remembers me better than he does." He said it lightly. People assume a single man has fewer places to spend, so they assume his money has no resistance, that it's just available. What they don't see is how expensive stability actually was. Stability makes people comfortable enough to forget how fragile it once was. A man put it simply, "When I was broke, people checked on me. When I became stable, they stopped asking and started assuming." They saw the result, not the years, which is funny because no one asked how many times you had to fall first. At some point, you stopped proving anything with money, not because you became generous, but because you became precise. You notice who only calls when something is due, and who calls even when nothing is needed. This isn't about mistrust, it's about clarity. So generosity stays intentional, not automatic. My money stopped being idle the day I assigned it destinations. One investment, one long trip, one cause I support. When money already has a job, it's much harder to hand it away casually. If you want to keep walking this path with men who value that clarity, stay with Move or Die Stoic. Money at this stage isn't about looking successful. It's about not being cornered. They want to know the lights stay on, the fridge stays stocked, and no one gets to rush them into decisions they didn't choose. For a man standing on his own, that kind of freedom is worth more than anything money was ever meant to impress. Passing 50 is not a retreat, it is a return. These lessons that show time doesn't heal everything, it just stops giving you chances to fix the same mistakes. There aren't as many next Mondays left as there used to be. The world outside can be loud and impatient, but in this house you decide what moves and what doesn't. You're the homeowner now, not the one carrying someone else's bags. Let the days ahead be your cleanest ones. Fewer burdens, more choices. Nothing needs to be rushed anymore. You're allowed to move at the speed that feels right. At this stage of life, living alone no longer means waiting. This path doesn't lead to isolation. It leads to fewer connections and better ones. Tonight, I'll put one thing back in its place. That's enough for today, and every step you take is proof. You aren't declining, you are rising, because life after 50 is no joke, and neither are you.